All right, let's talk about some mining here. Ben's favorite topic. I actually like to talk about mining. I think TJ, you do too, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's what it's
It's alright.
it's the ledger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the ledger. You can't have a ledger. Well, you can, but
I'll say I'm a big believer in proof of work with
same
that.
here.
Yeah.
Same here. All right. Hive blockchain orders another 6,500 Bitcoin mining machines from is that Canaan or Canaan?
Canaan?
Canaan. All right. Different option C, not A or B. All right. The order builds. I'm going to call them from them cats. All right. The order builds on the company's existing relationship that's seen Hive already buy over 10,000 machines this year. So we're looking at over 60% increase here. They're buying the Bitcoin from the manufacturer Canaan. The order comes after the Canadian company bought the 4,000 and 6,400 in January. So they've been mining since August of. I would assume since they led with August and then said January, that is August of last year,
Mhm.
not January then August. So I mean, they've been mining for what are we looking at, like 14 months now. So it's probably sitting on some pretty profits right now. Latest push will put the capacity to 2 exahash per second and 3 by March of 2022.
Wow.
Currently, right now, 1.2. So we're looking at a pretty large increase there.
Yeah.
It's a China-based manufacturer, best known for its ASIC mining machines that during the boom time see demand skyrocket. What we're talking about in the office, this is big because they would directly sell to Chinese companies who would then, maybe put it to a warehouse, a couple middlemen, and then send it to America. So right now, we're cutting out a lot of these middlemen, going straight to America. We're not getting the machine after, it's a year old, 2 years old, because that's what happens a lot of time. It'll hit these Chinese companies first. They'll mine on it for a year. They'll sell it used for more than what they paid for it. So now this is very bullish for American mining for sure. You think? I mean, we're already number one too. So, yeah, we got another thing here. The hash rate highs remove any trace of the China mining ban. I mean, we've already seen that the hash rate there is basically dropped to zilch here. So, 5 months since the largest ever migration in the history began, it's starting to see another comeback. Comeback, here on the western part of the globe here, possible to measure in definitive terms. Hash rate has seemingly accounted for the entire China debacle, doubling from its bottom several months ago. The difficulty set to increase 5.7% next week. Just real quick, the way the Bitcoin mining works, it resets every 2 weeks, I believe. And it says, this is how difficult it was to mine for the previous 2 weeks.
Mhm.
If it was harder, it'll just fluctuate up or down to try to keep it, at an even keel. That way, I don't know, it stabilizes in a weird sense. It's almost like I don't know, how would you describe that? Like the stabilization of it?
Yeah, it offsets the energy being put into it and the amount you're trying to mine and the supply that's getting reduced. So that way you can't just flood the network with hash and overmine or solve more blocks. Like as the hash rate goes up, the difficulty for solving each block goes up. So it continues to increase over time, making the network more secure, the more valuable it gets. So obviously, as the incentive for attacking it goes up
Yep.
with the value, so does the security, etc.
Yeah, yeah. It's good for security, and if someone says it adjusts, not resets, that's adjust is a better word technically.
Yeah.
So this will be the 8th straight difficulty increase. First time such an event has occurred since 2018. I'd be interested to learn what part of 2018, because if that's January, that means a little bit different thing than if it was November and December. It's only been higher than today on just 6 other days in history. That is nuts. We're knocking on new all-time highs in network security, kind of like just what TJ and our point was. So it's gained 50% since May. China could be starting to regret its decision. I think that's going to be one of the biggest debacles of China's history. They had a big, I don't want to get into, trying to lecture you here, but they had a big debacle with silver.
Mhm.
100, was it about 100 years ago or so? Maybe even less than that,
Yeah.
maybe like 70 years. And it seems like they're repeating their past mistake. It's, it is a large country. It's 1.3, 1.4 billion people. Treat it like a ocean liner, not a speedboat. They can reverse course and then policy decisions, but nothing's going to be, on an abrupt face. So I think long term, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, that will I mean, I don't want to say, I don't want to FUD America or anything, but they're on pace to be number one superpower on a long enough time scale. It seems like it's just an inevitability with just statistics, with population and the buying power and GDP. It just seems like it's inevitable. I don't know. I don't want to predict the future here, but that's definitely going to slow it down. If they
Hmm.
would have kept mining and then hoarding the miners, I I think they added, at least decades. They probably added decades to their plan to be the number one power.
Yeah.
So, or were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say the important thing I think that's interesting about the story is even with China banning all that mining, we see the network autocorrects very quickly. It's not
Yeah,
that the mining stopped, it just moved. Whether these are Chinese miners or where the miners are based really doesn't really make that huge of a difference overall. The main fact is it's always going to be mined in a place where there's cheap, efficient energy,
yeah.
and government saying you can or can't doesn't really affect network of the Bitcoin network in the long term.
It's interesting. It didn't seem like the supply chain issues affected Bitcoin miners as much as like say sweatpants or tennis shoes or
Yeah.
like
Funny how that works.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess when you have